Hey, have you ever wondered why man can't fly? Isn't it fascinating that after thousands of years of evolution, of development, that man has never been able to fly? Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, man can fly. 1905, the Wright brothers created a powered machine that would fly. And so, for a little over 100 years, man has had the ability to take to the air and fly. But isn't it interesting that that's only been achieved through external means? I mean, look at these crazy guys jumping off stuff, strapping feathers to their wings, making flying machines out of fabric and wood, and leaping off stuff. It's practically been suicide for many years. I remember the famous Greek myth about the two brothers who made wings out of feathers and wax and strapped them and then onto themselves, and they flew through the air. And then the rumor has it that they got too high, too close to the sun, and the max wax melted and they fell to their deaths. And just that story about man striving to fly and just how crazy it is. And today man can fly, but even in recent history we hear stories about aircraft falling from the sky and things going wrong, and we're faced with this awareness that man somehow wasn't meant to fly, and man flying is such a risky business because our bodies can't tolerate falling out of the sky literally. I'm fascinated when you see a bumblebee hit a windscreen, or a bumblebee fly through the house and it hits a window, and then it just bounces off and keeps on flying. It's like God created those creatures to be able to fly. Have they evolved to do that, or did they just woke up one day and flew? They were created to fly. I obviously wasn't created to fly. I struggle to get up in the morning, so let alone flying anywhere. And I can run for a few minutes, but I really can't fly. I can't even get off the ground for a second without using some external means. And that to me just is fascinating. And I read in the scripture where it says, God said on the fifth day he created the fishes of the sea, and he created the birds to fly in the air. And then on the sixth day, he created the land-based animals, and he created man. And then he said that man was his greatest creation. He says, let's make man in our image. So, and gave man dominion over all of the other creatures. If you read that in Genesis, you see that man is meant to have dominion over all the other creatures. However, some of those creatures somehow have abilities that man himself does not have. And wow, that to me, it's just fascinating. And I wonder at God's creation, and I wonder at the story of our evolution, of our development, how we don't have the ability to change the kind that we are, the nature of what we are. We are what God created us to be, but to us we are valuable. We reflect the image of God, and the image of God is not based on something that flies, but on something that's meant to have a dominion. And we're creatures who are meant to have an intelligence and an authority in the earth, but not necessarily a greater creative ability. And that just fascinates me. So I'm just going to leave you with that thought there. And also I'm going to put a link in the description to this video, just sharing there's an organization called Answers in Genesis, and they've got scientists and researchers who look at science and history and what we call historical sciences, which is researching stuff which is not directly verifiable, observable, about what is the history of the earth and the history of animals and creatures and archaeology and all those things, and how do they tie into the Genesis story. It's called Answers in Genesis. So have a look at that. If you want to know more about creation history and creation science, you can have a look at there. So God bless you. Thank you for listening.